Ledger of the Forgotten. Theme: whistleblower justice, corporate exploitation, and forensic truth. In the vast corridors of modern capitalism, numbers often speak louder than people. But sometimes, a single line in a spreadsheet can give voice to thousands who were never meant to be heard. This is the story of Ethan Cole, a forensic accountant whose investigation into missing payroll funds revealed one of the most insidious cases of corporate exploitation in U.S. history. The case would come to be known as the Ledger of the Forgotten, the Discovery. In 2018, Amricon Manufacturing Group, AMG, a Fortune 500 company producing industrial equipment, boasted record profits. Behind the glossy financial statements, however, rumors circulated about mistreated workers at a plant in El Paso, Texas. When a new labor union lawsuit alleged unpaid overtime and falsified tax deductions, the Department of Labor hired an external forensic team to audit the company's payroll system. Ethan Cole led that team. Within the first week, he noticed discrepancies between internal payroll databases and actual bank transfers. Thousands of workers, mostly undocumented immigrants hired through staffing agencies, were listed as being paid full-time wages, yet their deposits reflected only half that amount. Someone was manipulating the books. The digital trail. Ethan began tracing the financial flow. Each payment passed through a layered network of third-party payroll vendors. One name stood out: Frontier Human Solutions, LLC, a small staffing contractor that received tens of millions from AMG each quarter. But the company's address led to a vacant office. Its website listed no employees. When Ethan subpoenaed Frontier's banking records, he discovered something shocking. Frontier's account was controlled by AMG's chief financial officer, Dana Rourke, under pseudonym. Millions of dollars meant for worker wages had been rerouted into offshore accounts in Belize and Panama, then funneled back into AMG's quarterly profit margins. It was a perfect illusion. The workers existed on paper, the payments existed in code, but the money never reached human hands. The silence workers. Ethan and his team interviewed dozens of workers. Many feared deportation if they spoke. Others described signing blank contracts, receiving cash in envelopes, and being forced to work 14-hour shifts. One worker, Maria Alvarez, showed Ethan her pay stub. It listed her as a temporary contractor, paid through Frontier. The stub claimed she received $1,200 bi-weekly. In reality, she'd received $400. Tears filled her eyes when Ethan explained the falsified entries. "We never complained," she said. "They told us if we speak, the police will come for us." It was clear the fraud wasn't only financial. It was human. The whistleblower inside. As the investigation deepened, Ethan received an anonymous message through a secure tip line. "You're getting close. Rourke isn't working alone. Look at internal audit, Q3 reports." Following the lead, Ethan discovered that AMG's head of internal audit, Michael Barrett, had repeatedly flagged unreconciled labor expense adjustments in his quarterly reports. But instead of escalating the issue, his findings had been deleted from final versions. Barrett had resigned quietly the previous year. Ethan found him living in Arizona, retired and reluctant to talk. After hours of persuasion, Barrett handed over a flash drive. "Everything you need is in there," he said. "Just be careful. They have friends in government contracts." Evidence in the shadows. The flash drive contained internal emails between Rourke and AMG CEO Howard Lindell authorizing strategic payroll compression to maximize labor efficiencies. Translation: systematic underpayment and falsification. Even more damning, the files included falsified tax submissions sent to the IRS, showing inflated payroll costs to claim higher deductions. Ethan's forensic team used digital watermark tracing to verify that the document originated from AMG's headquarters. Every edit, every metadata timestamp matched. They compiled a 400-page forensic investigation report detailing the fraud, complete with cross-verified data charts, interview transcripts, and money flow diagrams. The report was submitted to the U.S. Attorney's Office, but before charges could be filed, the case vanished from the docket. The cover-up, days later. Ethan's office was raided, not by corporate lawyers, but by federal agents claiming a national security confidentiality order. All case files were confiscated. Through back channels, Ethan learned that AMG was one of the government's largest defense suppliers, and several senior officials had ties to the company's board. When he reached out to the prosecutor assigned to the case, she simply said, "Mr. Cole, this is above your pay grade. Walk away." But Ethan didn't. The leak that changed everything. Realizing the system was compromised, Ethan contacted the Sentinel, an investigative news network known for exposing corporate fraud. He encrypted the forensic files and shared them under the pseudonym Accountant X. Within weeks, the Sentinel published an explosive expose. AMG accused of massive payroll fraud. Workers paid half their wages. Public outrage followed. Protests erupted outside AMG's headquarters. The story spread nationwide. Under pressure, Congress launched a bipartisan inquiry. Suddenly, those same confiscated forensic files reappeared, this time as evidence before a federal grand jury. Justice in motion. The hearings that followed were tense. Ethan was called to testify, breaking his anonymity. In court, he presented detailed forensic reconstructions showing how funds flowed from AMG's accounts through fake vendors into offshore trusts. CFO Dana Rourke was charged with wire fraud, tax evasion, and human rights violations. CEO Howard Lindell faced racketeering charges. The forensic team's collaboration with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division led to 11 indictments in total, including 2 Department of Labor officials who had accepted bribes to suppress the original complaints. The aftermath. 2 years later, Ethan sat quietly in a courtroom as the verdict was read. Both Rourke and Lindell were found guilty on all counts. AMG was ordered to pay $380 million in restitution and establish a fund for exploited workers. Maria Alvarez and hundreds of others finally received compensation for years of unpaid labor. Ethan's report became a case study in forensic accounting programs across the U.S., a model for whistleblower integrity in forensic justice. But the victory came with loss. Ethan's career in corporate auditing was over. No firm would hire a whistleblower. He spent the next few years consulting pro bono for labor rights groups, determined to ensure the voices he uncovered would never be forgotten again. The ledger lives on years later. Ethan reflected on the ordeal in a televised interview. "Numbers don't lie," he said. "People do. The job of a forensic accountant isn't just to balance the books, it's to balance conscience against corruption." His final act was donating the full proceeds of his whistleblower reward to a scholarship fund for children of exploited workers. The moral and call to action of the story. The true measure of justice lies not in the punishment of the powerful, but in the protection of the powerless. Behind every fraud, every falsified number, there are human lives erased by greed. Support transparency. Respect the truth tellers. Because sometimes the loudest cry for justice comes from forgotten pages of a ledger.